This episode is brought to you by RAYCON. You never know where life is going to take you, but RAYCON's everyday earbuds offer premium audio that goes wherever you go. And their latest model is better than ever with a 32-hour battery life, active noise cancellation, and multi-point connectivity to pair with 2 devices at once. RAYCONs bring you top-tier audio quality at just half the price of other premium brands. And they even offer a 30-day happiness guarantee. No questions asked. Get 15% off RAYCON products site-wide at buyraycon.com/command.
Greetings, humans. You have entered the Command Zone, your destination for all aspects of Elder Dragon Highlander. Enjoy your stay.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Command Zone podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Weeks.
I'm Jimmy Wong.
And today, we are dipping back into the past.
The past 7 years ago, which feels like yesterday.
Yeah, we're going to be rewatching an old, sort of beloved episode of the Command Zone. This is a highly, highly watched one. It's episode
good titling.
245. It is the most hated commanders in 2018.
Yeah, so we had like 3 years of Commander Precons come out. 4 color commanders were still like cool and fresh.
Yeah. This is right when Battle Bond came out, for a little bit of context.
Yeah, great fun set. And in this episode, Josh and DJ, friend of the show, are breaking down their most hated commanders. This was a very highly viewed episode because it's just a very fun topic, and it's a good title for the algorithm.
But today we wanted to sort of rewatch this episode with the context of 2025 and see if these commanders that were so hated all the way back then are still hated today, if they're still the menace that they used to be.
Yeah, lots changed in the format, so it's really going to be fun to dive into it. If you're looking to build any of these old commanders or maybe have some cards that go against them, go to cardkingdom.com/command to pick up all of your Magic cards and all of your Magic sealed products, singles, and more. They have a huge inventory. They ship it all to you in one convenient package so that you can get your own hated commander or your own response to a hated commander or buff up a deck that is going to be even more hated as a result of being inspired by this episode. cardkingdom.com/command. We can't recommend it enough supporting us there, supporting our show, and getting the cards you need.
Yeah, and then jump on over to ultrapro.com/command. You can support the show and support your collection over there. UltraPro has some of the highest quality Magic accessories in the business. They've got sleeves and deck boxes, binders. Now they have merch, like apparel and stuff. They've got cute little dice bags. There's a little Ugin guy.
Wait, really?
There's a wee Ugin.
Oh, man. They're always coming up with cool new stuff, especially tied to the sets as well.
Yeah, and they have a new product out that's a ton of fun. If you're like me and you like to show off your commander decks, check out their new one-touch edge frames.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're behind us. They're these like sort of plastic frames that have a little stand, and you can put a card that's special to you in it, and it pops out so you can play it if it's your commander, or if it's just a beloved card, you know, you can always have it on your desk and take a peek at it.
Yeah.
I've got a bunch of altars that I had done for like cards for decks that I can't play anymore, and I would love to display them in those. So check those out at ultrapro.com/command.
And the last way to support the show is directly patreon.com/command zone. There you can get access to all of the patron perks, such as our Discord, where we chat with our lovely patron community every single day. They're always asking questions, and we're always answering them. And there's also other parts of that Discord that you can involve yourself in with deck tech, general chat, all that good stuff. And of course, we shout out one lucky patron every single episode. So this episode is dedicated to Matthew Jesselin.
Matthew,
you rock.
You rock.
You are not most hated, you are most beloved.
Most beloved.
So let's talk about the most hated commanders of 2018, back when I was 6 years old.
Yeah. So for this episode, we're going to be playing snippets of this old episode to give you an idea of the perspective that they had on each of these commanders. So as discussed by Josh and DJ, what they think. A little bit of context, they were specifically commanders that Josh and DJ don't like playing against. So it wasn't like the entire community came together and decided these are them. But these are the commanders they do not like playing against all the way back in 2018. But if you want to watch the entire episode and not just the snippets, you can go back. It's episode 245. It's on YouTube. It's a podcast. Go check it out for the full blast from the past.
Oh, yeah. All right, so let's kick it off with the first most hated commander that Josh and DJ talk about. Take it away, gents.
It's Prossh, Skyraider of Kher.
You're afraid of a 6-drop commander, Josh, that makes 0/1s that don't even get any bigger?
Yeah, it seems like this card wouldn't be that great until you've played against it.
It's real good.
Yeah.
They have all sorts of great sacrifice shenanigans, not only on Prossh, but in other ways to gain advantage.
Prossh interacts very well with Food Chain, which is an enchantment, and you sacrifice a creature, and you get a combination of mana in any colors to 1+ the amount of CMC of the creature you sacrificed. With Prossh, you get 7 mana, and then all the kobolds can be sacked for 1 mana, which means you can always recast Prossh, and you come out with extra mana on the other end. It basically means you get unlimited mana to cast creature spells and unlimited kobolds, which means Prossh is as big as you want him to be because you can sacrifice the kobolds eventually once you have, infinite amount of them, or you have Perforos out, or you Altar of Dementia, or there's a million other ways that you sort of take the fact that you have a million tokens and win with it. And anytime you're playing against a Prossh deck, you gotta be really on your toes because you can lose at any second. It is a CEDH deck. It's one of, I think it used to be tier 1. It might still be.
I don't see it very often, but I don't play very much CEDH. It's definitely a powerhouse at the table.
CEDH?
Uh-huh.
Wow. Times have changed. Prossh is not CEDH.
Can you imagine if somebody sat down at a CEDH table with this 6-mana Jund commander and a Food Chain combo? That whips. That would be so cool.
Yeah,
I hope that's still happening.
Every player with blue is just drooling.
You're like, okay.
All right.
Well, the kobolds are a cast trigger, so you do still get the kobolds.
You still get the kobolds. All right. So Prossh is 3 and Jund, 6-mana, 5/5 flower. When you cast Prossh, you create X 0/1 red kobold tokens. Name kobolds of Kher Keep, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast Prossh. And then, of course, you can sack another creature. Prossh gets +1/+0 until end of turn. This is a card that I think, if it was printed today, we'd be like, oh, cool.
Yeah. Prossh is so interesting because it's one of those things that you like, when you look at it, you're just like, sure, he makes like a whole bunch of stuff and he's a sack outlet.
And he scales upwards with commander tax.
Right. And that feels very innocuous, but he is like 2 parts of the aristocrat piece. Like he is the free sack outlet and he does make a ton of tokens. So I think he still like would be a very powerful commander today. I just don't think he's like this back-breaking combo beast that he was at this time. Like if you sat down across from a Prossh today, what would you expect is in that deck? Like, what is your first reaction?
Oh, they're going to ramp really fast, and if they don't have an infinite, then I don't know why they're playing Prossh.
Right.
Like, I get it. This is like, for me, this is from the bygone era of I have a very specific plan with my deck. I'm trying to get it out as fast as possible and then win with it right then and there.
Right.
But we're at the point where I think there are so many decks that can win right then and there with 2-card combos that we'll almost see less of it. Like, people would rather have more fun and play, I find, than just infinite out and just win on the spot.
Right. Prossh is very linear. It's going to win very similarly basically every single time, whether you're going the Food Chain combo or you're just going like Perforos Aristocrat style stuff. Like, all you're doing is getting a ton of mana on the board, playing Prossh, sacking your whole board, playing Prossh again, and hoping it works out.
And killing people with commander damage with Prossh was a very common thing back in the day as well, by creating all these tokens and all that.
Also, like, I can't imagine dying to commander damage from Prossh. In like we just
Today's day and
we just
age.
know to play more removal. Like, I'm less worried about one giant dragon because you have to like cast it, have enough kobolds to be able to pump him, have a haste enabler to be able, like, you're just way more dead to all of our other token payoffs than you are to like being hit with Prossh.
Yeah. Prossh does feel like a commander that existed and was more popular when there were just simply less choices at Jund. Or it's just like, I want to do a cool big dragon thing. All right, you got Prossh, you have the other Elder Dragons or whatever. So it feels, like you said, very linear, very specific. It's like one of our first ever animated pieces that we had for the channel, with Prossh coming out and all the low kobolds going, woo! But yeah, it just feels almost boring.
It's very interesting. So for each of these commanders, I wanted to go on EDH Rec and see how many deck lists still exist for them. Of course, this can be skewed because they were really popular back in the day, and most people aren't like deleting their deck lists offline. So how reliable these EDH Rec stats are is sort of up for question, but they're interesting context nonetheless.
Also, the game has grown a lot since these decks have came out, so more players will have built newer decks. So
right, but I mean, like, he's ranked pretty highly. Like currently, Prossh is the number 289 commander on EDH Rec, which is a lot higher than I would expect. I think that is somewhat bolstered by his popularity back in the day, but he is the number 10 most popular Jund commander. So he has been sort of outpaced in terms of Jund commanders that people are excited to play. For example, like Korvold is a much more popular Jund commander that is sort of, I think today is heralded on a similar power level as Prossh was back in the day.
Yeah, and that's number 36 out of 200, out of however many.
Yeah. Overall, he's
which
the number
is
36.
Really, really high.
Very popular.
Yeah, I'm much more afraid to play against a Korvold because I don't die in one turn. I die in 1 2-hour long turn.
Right. I mean, I was looking up, I was like, okay, so what are the most like comparable commanders to this? And Ziatora is the other one, Ziatora the Incinerator.
Where you're throwing a creature.
Well, yeah, that's also sort of a sack style deck. It's Jund Aristocrats. You're sacking, it's mostly has like a lot of treasure synergies and that kind of thing. Yeah. And that's number 132. So it's significantly higher than Prossh. It does feel like we're just not interested in building Prossh anymore.
Yeah. When Korvold comes out, you can just instantly have a board of things you can sack to get the immediate value. Even if someone removes Korvold in response, you can do something. When Prossh comes out and gets removed, it seems very difficult unless you already have the food chain combo, and at which point you're going to be winning anyway. And so I think like Korvold just gives players more of a, well, I've built my whole deck around this, but it isn't to just do one specific thing. I can do things with the treasures. I can recast it here, or I can play something else or draw a bunch of cards or whatever it is. But Prossh, it's just like, it's glass cannon-y.
You've got one plan, and if it doesn't work, oh no.
Yeah, hope I get to my next turn, and I'm going to try the exact same plan again.
Right. It's interesting, because like these days I am less afraid of food chain Prossh, because I'm like, if you're playing food chain, I know what to disrupt, and I know how I'm going to die, so there's like a potential for interaction there.
Yeah.
And much more afraid of this just like token plan that Prossh has, because this is a lot of bodies in one spell, right?
It's 7 bodies.
It's 6 mana, makes 6 bodies. So seven bodies total, because
with
it includes
Prossh,
him, And it has the free sack outlet attached, and we have a lot better sacrifice payoffs than we did when this was filmed. So like Mirkwood Bats is completely nuts with Prossh, because it's 6 ETBs and then it's 6 drains immediately. So it's 12 for the table.
I didn't realize Mayhem Devil did not exist at the time Prossh existed, but Mayhem Devil's nuts, obviously, in a deck like this.
And that can like ping down actual creatures. So there was stuff like Goblin Bombardment at the time, but like there's a lot more redundancy in this style of deck than there ever was when Prossh was in its heyday. I was thinking about just Chatterfang. Like you just is so many more tokens. For this style of deck. So it being just much more redundant and having a lot more pieces that don't require it to be this infinite combo menace, just have it be like a really powerful aristocrat strategy.
Yeah, in which case, do you even put Prossh as the commander, or do you find something cheaper at the Jund slot that's 4 mana, or maybe even 3 mana that has a similar strategy, and Prossh is just like a big finisher at the end of it, just to give you a ton of bodies? Because I think having a 6 mana commander is very difficult these days. Just because everyone can see it coming.
It's also so scary. Like a lot of the commanders that we're going to talk about still have this sort of stink of 2018 where people see Prossh, they're going to target you more than they would necessarily if you were playing some, like Henzi or something like that.
Right.
Obviously, Henzi doesn't really support the token plan as much, but like he still has this sort of, oh no, it's a Prossh deck to him.
I mean, if you sit down across from a Prossh deck, you should be ready to get rid of it, or just whatever is going to happen. A food chain comes down, it's like, great, we have to stop the Prossh deck.
Right.
Whereas with Korvold, it's more, well, Korvold's coming out, and then we're going to have to figure out what to do after the big, massive value turn.
Yeah.
When now they have all of the Jund removal and interaction, and it doesn't matter that you kill Korvold, they just drew 17 cards.
Right. I did want to talk about this because I wanted to see just how biased this like whole thing was, like how much stink is left on Prossh. And I pulled The Office in terms of whether they'd rather play against Korvold or whether they'd rather play against Prossh. Now, half of The Office hasn't played against either of them. But the other half are like from the bygone era where Prossh is like was in his heyday, and it's split down the middle. 6 would rather play against Prossh, 6 would rather play against Korvold.
Did you pull yourself here?
I'm not included in this number, so I did want to ask you which one you'd rather play against.
I would rather play against Prossh because of just what I said earlier. I just don't love commanders that create turns that last like 15, 20 minutes. And Corvold is exactly that. Prossh does just seem way more straightforward. And yeah, if I died to like 17 triggers from Perforos, fine.
You're like, yeah.
But I don't want to sit there and have them sacrifice the thing, draw a card, and just like, all right, cool. At what point do I get to actually do anything ever again? Because I'm the type of player that likes to tap out and wait till it's my turn again.
Yeah.
So when I'm tapping out and waiting extra long, it just doesn't make me so happy.
I'm the same way. I think Prossh is so predictable. Like, I could probably guess 30 of the cards in that deck.
Yeah.
Starting with Blood Crypt. No, like I just know what that deck is going to do, so you understand how to disrupt it, how to play against it, what kind of speed that we're moving at. Corvold could be anything,
True.
and whatever it is, it's going to take very long turns.
Yeah, and Corvold also can be built in a way that's like Edict affects Corvold, right? There's just a lot of other ways that Corvold can be built that just aren't fun. Playing against
treasures, like it's just
treasures, yeah.
It seems like a really fun archetype, but it takes really long turns and is very powerful.
Yeah, Corvold plus a Mayhem Devil, it's like, no thank you. At least with Prossh, it's like you're usually sacking all of the kobolds all at once.
Right.
So at least it just happens at the same time.
Before we move on to the next one, would you still hate to play against Prossh? Is it better or worse than it used to be?
I don't care. I think it's absolutely fine. It's no Chulane. I'll just say that much.
Yeah, I think I would hate playing against Prossh as much as I hate playing against any combo deck where I'm not super satisfied if that's how the game ends. But at least I've got a shot and I'm not like, oh God, what are we going to do?
And there's some amount of like, oh cool, Prossh deck. Haven't seen that in a while.
It's a little bit of nostalgia. It's nice.
Yeah,
Good for you.
There is something that gets a little tiring when you see a deck that's just like I played so many Sauron decks, for instance. At a certain point, it's like, okay, I don't need to see another Sauron deck.
Right.
But in 5 years, if someone plays a Sauron deck, it'll be like, oh, cool, Sauron.
He's back. I like that guy.
I forgot about this.
All right. We're going to move on to their next pick. Let's see what's bothering the guys in 2018.
I want to talk about Scion of the Dragon. On its surface, sounds awesome. It's a 5-color dragon deck. You get to pull dragons out of your deck and stick them into your graveyard, and suddenly you've cheated an amazing dragon that you can smash your opponents with.
However, the way the stack works means that there's all kinds of crazy shenanigans where you like pay 2, and with that activation on the stack, pay 2 again, and with that activation on the stack, pay 2 again. And so you say things like, I'm going to have it turn into this, but then it's going to turn into this, and then it's going to turn into that.
The one thing that I'm the most scared of is they turn it into OG Nicobolus, and then it smacks me, and I have to discard my entire hand.
There's a combo I've been on the receiving end of, which is that they turn it into something that has fire breathing. They pump it, and then they turn it into Skithrix.
Yeah, I've seen
So
that
it hits
too.
you for 10 infect just out of nowhere. You basically always have to block the Scion every time they swing it, but there are ways to make it unblockable and stuff too. Like it's...
And also, there's like ways to make it like you target it, and then they turn it into the
hexproofy one,
the hexproofy one, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from because you're like,
cool deck,
this is going to be
too.
a cool dragon-y deck, but it's really just a combo deck.
Okay.
Right.
Alrighty then. Scion of the Dragon, menace of the format. So they talked about some of the combo shenanigans, and it's a 5-mana commander with activated ability for 2. It says search your library for a dragon permanent card, put it into your graveyard. If you do, Scion becomes a copy of that card until end of turn. Then shuffle your library. So yeah, you can stack multiple triggers on top of each other. It's great to fetch stuff into your graveyard, obviously. And then they talked about Silumgar, the Drifting Death, which is a card name I haven't heard in a
This
long
card
time.
used to ravage token decks.
Yeah. And then Molten Steel Dragon plus Skithrix combo.
Oh,
Ooh, man.
that's a classic.
I face down that thing every time I sit down to play Commander at the table.
Oh man, this is a very throwback one, I think.
Yeah.
So Scion, okay, let's do the first question. You sit down from a Scion of the Dragon deck at the table. What is your reaction in 2025?
Oh, you're playing combo.
Yeah.
It's similar almost to Prossh, where it's like you're going to try and win in one cool thing, and it's going to be harder to disrupt because it's an activated ability.
But it's not even win. It's kill one person.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe there's something now that you could do with Scion with the newer cards that have come out, but yeah, it's really just like, I'm going to make this super scary and murder you, or it's very toolboxy, tutory. I have ways of reanimating stuff, and Scion is just like a tech piece in there.
Right. I would assume it's doing these weird old combos, which if that's its plan, to like ramp out this 5-color commander, attack with it so it can hit, and then spend at least 4 mana to do this combo and a whole bunch of life to do the Molten Steel Dragon.
Oh, gosh.
And you just hope they don't have a path to exile.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Right? Because once it's Skithiryx, it loses that ability.
Yeah,
so
and it's
like,
never going to become Skithiryx again because now it has to search for something new the next turn.
This is so glass cannony. This is so much more easy to interrupt than Prossh.
Yeah.
Because there's a single point of disruption. It's so telegraphed if you've played against Scion before. And like, yeah, you don't want to be hit by this thing, but like, they have to cast it, and they have to have the mana to activate it, and they have to, like, there's so many things that have to go right.
Ideally casting it and putting Lightning Greaves on it, but
Right.
there still is a huge window of opportunity to stop that from happening.
Mm-hmm.
I think I see a lot of players play Scion just because they wanted a 5-color dragon in the command zone.
I mean, Dragon existed at this time.
Exactly. There are other dragons that are 5 colors, and you have an infinite number of choices almost, it feels like, to do exactly that. Yeah, this to me really feels like old school. Isn't it cool what you can do in Commander?
Yeah.
And now it's like, yeah, you can do that in Commander, but boy, you're going to have a bad time with any table with interaction.
Yeah, they're just going to remove it.
Yeah.
They're just going to remove it, and you're not going to be able to play. And like, there's so many better dragon commanders today, especially now during Tarkir. I went on EDH and I was like, okay, how popular is Scion of the Dragon to play against? It's number 540 on EDH.
That's down the list then.
Which is well down the list. For reference, the Dragon is number 2.
Number 2? Okay, so the Dragon is clearly the more popular choice here.
Right. And even like Miram Sentinel Worm is number 10 overall. Like the Scion of the Dragon has fallen in a major way in terms of what dragon commanders look like.
I love dragon decks. I have my own Miram deck, and I would actually much rather build a Teamer dragon deck than a 5-color one.
Yeah.
Just because building 5-color decks for me actually got harder and harder the more because once you build one, it's like, well, there goes all of my lands that I need
my
for
whole
any,
land base.
every single, like I could build 17 decks out of the land base for this single one here.
Why do you think I build monocolor so often?
Yeah,
I was like,
right.
I've got basics.
Yeah, I've got tons of basics. Yeah, so I think, and I got fancy ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for me, the appeal of doing decks that aren't 5-color is also something that kind of goes against the popularity of these old 5-color. So many of these cards feel like too, like the era that we're gone from is we just didn't play as much removal.
Right.
And you were just hoping the white player had it, but now every single color pretty much has a way to very quickly, low mana, instant speed, disrupt something.
Yeah, especially a deck like this that is so bad against edicts, and it's so bad against any sort of instant speed disruption, like bounce spells, or just like, ugh.
Yeah.
I have cast this thing, I have paid the mana to change it, and it just goes back to your hand.
Well, so many cards back in the day that were popular commanders were put all my chips on this single thing needing to work.
Right.
And that's how I remember building, what's that? The Teamer Animar, right?
Sure.
Glass cannon decks. Both the decks we talked about are very glass cannony, but they have the ability to win on the spot. Or at least kill someone on the spot.
Kill someone on the spot.
Yeah.
This one's interesting. I was like, okay, so are there any cards that have come out since they talked about Scion of the Dragon that makes him a more interesting or a more scary commander? And the answer is like, kind of, but not in a way that is more scary than the other dragon commanders.
Yeah.
Like Ancient Copper Dragon, Ancient Silver Dragon both come out. The
Incredible
Black
cards.
Dragon's really good too because it puts stuff in the graveyard and then reanimates them. Like that's a cool thing to turn your Scion into. I think if you were building it today, it's much stronger as like a toolboxy dragon deck than it is a full speed combo list that can take out one player.
And I think it's better again in the 99 so that it's representative of any of the dragons in your deck. But you don't need to necessarily have it in your command zone. You could play the Dragon instead.
Yeah.
and make
if
them all
you're-
cost less mana.
Like if you're playing a toolboxy 5-color dragon deck, you're probably just playing Tiamat anyway, which comes in and tutors 5 dragons to your hand.
Yeah, way
rather
nicer.
than the graveyard.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I think we've come a long way from being afraid of Scion of the Dragon. Certainly not hating to play against them.
Yeah.
I think I sort of get like some kind of love out of people who are still jamming Scion of the
Rockin'
Dragon.
Scion. And with this specific combo package.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same nostalgia thing. It's like, oh, cool, a Scion deck. All right.
Like, all right.
Did you build it differently?
Don't
Let's
you
see
attack
that.
me, I'll remove that.
Yeah. Don't come at me. I know what you can do. Yeah.
I will chump so hard.
Yeah, I would much rather play against a Scion deck than a Mirim deck. That's for sure.
I agree.
Mirim
yeah.
is a nightmare.
Like they're
Ward
so
2,
worried
ugh.
about the like they'll turn it into a hexproof dragon, and
Yeah.
you're like, have you met Mirim?
Mirim, yeah.
And the answer is no. They were so young.
My favorite story about Mirim is still Jacob Bertrand, who played Mirim for a long time and just thought that it was 5 mana instead of 6. And would cast it for 5 mana, no one would say anything, and then finally, I think he was playing against Kibler or something, and Kibler was like, no, that's a 6 mana card, and he's like, oh, I've been doing this very wrong. Yeah, Mirim
Yeah,
is 5
let's make
is
it
insane.
even better.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, that's the second commander that they mentioned in this episode. The next commander we're going to talk about is one that remains miserable to play against.
Finally.
And we will get to all of those details after a few words from our sponsors.
Howdy! It's me, Kellen, pre-loop protagonist of Magic the Gathering. My relationship with my dad, Oko, is complicated. But that all changes this Father's Day, because I'm getting him a gift that'll get any father's attention. RAYCON wireless earbuds. I use my RAYCONs every single day, so I know my old man's gonna love them too. Whether he's working out those abs or robbing a train instead of coming to my piano recital, he'll be able to bring his favorite tunes wherever he goes. And RAYCON's latest model is better than ever, with a 32-hour battery life, multi-point connectivity, and a quick charge function to get 90 minutes of juice from just 10 minutes of charging. They even come with active noise cancellation, which Pop seemed really excited about for some reason. Plus, RAYCONs start at just half the price of other premium brands, so I got him a pair in each of his colors, green and blue. Well, here you go, Dad. What do you think?
Kellen, they're perfect. I love you, son.
Oh my gosh, it worked! Okay, deep breaths. Oh my gosh.
Go to buyraycon.com/command to get 15% off site-wide. Right now, Raycon is offering up to 15% off site-wide when you go to buyraycon.com/command. Again, that's buyraycon.com/command.
Hey everyone,
How's it?
here, have a booster pack.
Whoa. What are you doing?
Sorry, after that last Whatnot stream, I just want to keep giving away cool stuff.
Well, you should save it for the next stream, which is May 15th at 12 noon Pacific. And you should all bookmark it right now by going to whatnot.com/invite/command.
As always, we're gonna have a bunch of great giveaways. I mean, last time we had packs, precons, signed cards, even a collector booster box of Tarkir Dragon Store.
And if you want some guaranteed free value, just sign up with our link. Because when you do, you get $15 free to spend anywhere on Whatnot.
Yeah, you could even use it on some of our sweet Game Nights merch, like a signed Commander deck box.
But of course, you also get the value of hanging out with us live, which I like to think is worth something, right?
I hope so. We're gonna be chilling with the fans, talking with chat, and answering your burning questions.
Plus, you can hang out with more than just us because we're pairing up with the Professor! He'll be starting his stream at 1 p.m., so you can enter our giveaways and then stick around and maybe win something from Prof also.
Yeah, and he's always giving away a ton of really cool stuff. Do you think it'd be weird if I entered one of those giveaways?
It would be weird if you won one, yeah.
Yeah, good point. And remember, if you sign up for Whatnot using our link at whatnot.com/invite/command, you get $15 free to use anywhere on the platform.
So come join us on May 15th at 12 noon Pacific to get in on all the fun, and don't forget to use our link to get those 15 free bucks.
Now, will somebody please take these packs?
Yeah, take them off our hands.
Oh, hey everyone, it's me, everyone's favorite inescapable magic mascot, Loot the Pathfinder. I don't need help finding my path through the multiverse, but when it comes to selling my sweet loot-themed loot, well, that path was paved by Shopify. As you might ancestral recall, I've talked to you about Shopify before, but the more sets I'm in, the more people demand cute, cuddleable me's, so my warehouses are flush with plush. Luckily, with Shopify's powerful tools, I'm making sales even quicker than a lightning bolt. They have the #1 checkout on the planet, making sure your shoppers' carts don't get abandoned.
Like how I was abandoned in a vault for millennia.
Shopify is the business behind the business, powering all sorts of sellers, even the Command Zone merch store. So if you want to boost your sales with Shopify, do it now. An opportunity like this doesn't double strike. I mean strike twice. Haha, silly little loot.
Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/TCZ, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/TCZ to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/TCZ.
Aha, Psych Rift. Yeah, this deck feels like a 3.
Updating your decks?
No, I'm just sorting them into commander brackets.
Oh, just use ARCHIDEKT. It's the easiest way to get an estimate of your deck's bracket. Plus, you can click the number and it'll lay out the reasoning. It takes things like tutors, extra turns, and land destruction into account, and game changers are all clearly marked. It even recognizes 2-card combos. See? It's saying your deck is actually a 4. It'll be a 3 if you've got Ristic Study.
Huh. Okay, 4 it is.
ARCHIDEKT is the best place to browse, brew, and check your deck's commander brackets. Just go to archidekt.com/command zone to get started.
That's ARCHIDEKT.com/command zone.
Welcome back, everyone. We're talking about the most hated commanders of all time. Just kidding, just from 2018, how they match up today. This next one, if you sit down and you pull this deck out, I'm standing up and leaving the table.
Let's see what they have to say about it in 2018.
Here's one that makes everybody groan when they see it across the table. It's Grand Arbiter Augustin the Fourth. They often pile up the tax effects, right? So they're like, well, I'm already making everybody mad with my commander, so I'm just going to put in Aura of Silence, Spell Tithe Enforcer, and I'm going to make it so that all their spells cost 2, 3 more to cast. And then I'm going to counterspell, because counterspell's so good. These decks are just like a slog. The other thing I'll say about Grand Arbiter decks is they have a ton of that stuff, a ton of Wraths, and they're pretty low on win cons as a result, right? They want to counter everything.
Yeah, it's a slow
they
game.
want to. So what ends up happening is like nobody can do anything, and then nobody can win. And you're like, listen, Grand Arbiter person that's making everyone, not be able to do stuff. Will you just kill us, please? But they're like, well, I can't actually. I can stop you all. But
They're like, I have a secure the way somewhere in this deck.
yeah, eventually I will, but that's going to take like 5 or 6 more
I've
turns.
seen people commander damaged out with a Grand Arbiter before.
Yeah, just literally I'll hit you with it because you can't play anything until you die, which by the way takes a long time.
It's so long. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, not my favorite.
Okay, yeah, this card, I hate it.
Yeah, this one still sucks.
Stacks in general is awful, and Grand Arbiter is from the era where white-blue had nothing better to do than make you hate the game.
Yeah, this is a very interesting one because it's definitely from a very specific era of commander design and legend design, and specifically, like, Azorius had one feeling, and it was make you do nothing.
Yeah, lockdown, like imprison.
Yeah, detain
yeah, that's right.
is one I always think of.
Yeah.
I looked this one up because I was like, well, surely Grand Arbiter isn't played that much anymore. And on EDH Rec, he is currently ranked number 141 on EDH Rec.
Oh my gosh.
And he's number 4 in Azorius, which is pretty high.
That's really high. And this, again, I've said this many times on the show, but Azorius, for the most part, until very recently, just has nothing better to do than this. And so it makes sense that he's up there. I don't know. It could just be that players need this deck in certain play groups. Like, got to pull out Grand Arbiter because otherwise I'm going to die to everyone playing 17 spells a turn or whatever.
I mean, he is very powerful. Like, you look at him and forget that it's like, this is an enormous cost reducer.
Yeah.
It reduces like all your spells by at least 1, sometimes 2.
Yeah.
And then
taxes everyone.
Everything else. It's like, it is a very powerful card, especially when combined with the additional tax effects that they're talking about. I don't know what Spell Tithe Enforcer, but Aura of Silence, definitely.
Well, you put, even like Ristic Study just feels so much harder to beat in this deck because now you're paying 2 more for each if you don't want them to draw. We should remind everyone that this is on the Game Changers list.
Yes, it is. It is still impactful. It is still miserable. We know that this card is powerful in 2025. I would argue that it is more powerful today than it was in 2018.
Absolutely.
Because
it's just
of the
better spells.
There's better spells.
Yeah.
So the cost reduction is so much better. We're also in a meta where the expectation, at least like with people we play group, is that you're double spelling. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of how you get to the powerful part of the game is you cast like multiple 2-drops or multiple 3-drops. And Gave makes that so much harder to get to. So now you're playing 2-drops that cost 5 mana as opposed to your like 4 mana or 5 mana impactful spell that costs you 7, but at least when it resolves, it's a 5 mana spell, Yeah,
and I would say too, because of 1v1 formats, they continue to print newer and newer cards that are that are just new versions of your opponents can't do this. You can't activate abilities of artifacts or planeswalkers or whatever. So it has more tools and it's just more moldable to play groups as well. So Grand Arbiter just as just a single unit, because look at this guy's just hanging out.
Now that's a Grand Arbiter.
That's a Grand Arbiter. As a single unit, it just really does everything that this specific strategy wants. If it didn't have the reduction, totally different story. But the fact that you can storm off with Grand Arbiter and stop everyone else means that it's a double effect where you're making your stuff cheaper and theirs more expensive. It's twice as impactful than just them making everything one more bit expensive or only you reducing costs. It does both at the same time.
The other thing
it's a game changer.
It sure is. I mean, the other thing that they mentioned about Gabe that I want to talk about is they talk about how sloggy the games get. They're like, and it takes so long to die. And I don't think that's true anymore. I feel like a Gabe deck has better threats than it did in 2018. Like there's better white hate bears that have that are 2/3s and 3/3s and do really impactful stuff. Like there's Smothering Tide that taxes your opponents even more and gives you more mana. It snowballs that effect that Gabe offers. There's even like huge haymakers that are really good with a cost reducer like Hullbreaker Horror.
Oh, that's a win con for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is 7/8. So it's like, I do think that this, like, they were like, someday you'll draw Secure the Wastes. It's like, I don't think that you're winning the game with this Secure the Wastes anymore.
Yeah.
I think you're like actually doing reasonable damage, and this is more of a hate bears deck that is trying to slow down your opponent and hit them.
Yeah, because you're constantly getting in with your Thalias and all that stuff, because all their stuff's entering tapped, and you're gaining life. How many of the game changers can you put in the Grand Arbiter deck? A lot of them.
Many. There's a lot of blue ones and a lot of white ones. So,
all right, this one's an easy. I never ever want to play against this deck. If you pull it out against me, I'll go, no, thank you. Please choose something else, or I will just simply spend the whole game targeting you because it's just I can't play otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the Gabe player, you have to be used to that.
Yeah, Grand Arbiter.
You're playing it to be the baddie.
So grand, so Arbiter.
Let's see who they picked next.
All right, let's take a look at Sliver Queen. It's a cool commander that leads the way, and then you play all sorts of slivers, and then for just 2 mana, you get a 1/1, which isn't that good of a rate, but when the slivers are all buffing each other and synergizing and everything's going, then you're paying 2 mana for another awesome creature that goes onto the battlefield. I'm totally okay with that build of this deck. But I think that's super fun.
Yeah, that's what you think this deck's going to be.
Exactly, that's what I want this deck to be, but it's not. It's always hidden in Sliver Queen is just like a degenerate combo. And it has to do with that 2 generic mana to activate it. Ashnod's Altar.
Oh, yeah. So that pays for the 2 mana for Sliver Queen to make the sliver that you then sacrifice to Ashnod's Altar, and that's an infinite loop. Yeah. So Perforos deals damage every time a creature enters the battlefield, so you just kill everybody. Or
Mana Echoes, which is a crazy card. It's a cool card, but it is broken. When a creature enters the battlefield, you create an amount of colorless mana equal to basically the creature types it shares with. And so you reach a critical mass of slivers, and suddenly you just have infinite slivers and infinite mana. I think that Sliver Queen's a cool card.
You're telling people to buy your most hated deck or one of them?
Yeah, but they don't have to build it like that. Like, you don't have to have Perforos. Just go slivers.
Yeah, 5-color decks are tough because they can tutor for everything.
Yeah.
And they have every combo in there. They could, right?
They could.
Yeah.
Oh, Sliver Queen.
Sliver Queen.
This is such a funny one.
Yeah, not so royal anymore, that's for sure.
No, has been outflanked a bit by other Sliver commanders. So if you sit down, I want to ask this question. If you sit down from across from a Sliver Queen commander in 2025, what do you think their deck is doing? Is it just the straight combo deck? Do you think it's like...
It could be like tokens matter. Maybe they're doing something cool with changelings. Or it could just be like, I want to play all the cool slivers, and this is the only sliver I had in my collection at the time.
I assume... Like, I weirdly, they're like most worried about Sliver Queen as opposed to the first Sliver, obviously, which it didn't exist, or Sliver Overlord. But if they're playing Sliver Queen, I assume it's more casual.
Yeah.
Because that's like a nostalgic card that you could like love, and you're like, oh, you know, I had one when I was a kid, so like I still play Sliver Queen. And like, yes, you're still worried about the Ashnod's Altar combo, I guess.
Yeah. But there's just so many better slivers if you're trying to do the sliver thing. This again just feels like a very glass cannon-y thing, very similar to the first 2 cards we talked about in this episode. Because it's if you want to play that, sure, Ashnod's Altar, Sliver Queen, go nuts. But sliver decks are all about giving every single one of your slivers, in my mind, a bunch of keywords. And that's why the first sliver is so great. It's because every sliver spell has Cascade. First sliver is number 70 on EDH Rec, whereas Sliver Queen, 909.
Yeah, she's in the 99 of first Sliver decks, of Sliver Overlord decks. Both of those commanders do a much better job of finding the Sliver Queen in the 99 if they want to do the combo thing.
Yeah, Overlord especially can just tutor it out.
Can tutor it. Then I think it just doesn't offer that much of a boon to your Sliver deck if you don't have the Ashnod's Altar.
Yeah. This very much to me also is indicative of just DJ's playgroup. There was just a lot of combo, a lot of fast decks that tried to win on the spot, which probably meant that they were slightly higher power because they didn't want to sit around and bandy around till turn 12. They just wanted to get out there and win. But the game is also sped up so much that even the combo decks like this, that's a 5-color spell, feel slow.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, you're like, okay, you can't really play your Ashnod's Altar until you have your Sliver Queen in play, because everybody will gang up on you and remove your Ashnod's Altar. So you have to get your Sliver Queen in play first, which is 5 mana. Then you need to get your Ashnod's Altar in play, and then you need to have an additional thing to sacrifice or an additional 2 mana to start the chain going.
Yeah.
Like, it is not cheap, and it's in 5 colors, not to mention you have to find the Ashnod's Altar first.
And you can see it coming from so far away.
Yeah, it's so telegraphed.
Yeah.
And you're like, I guess if you want to do that combo, like,
yeah, if you want to
sure.
win that way, that's totally fine. I think because games need to end, and I'm okay dying to like 70,000 Perforos triggers. That has happened to me many times in Magic.
Right.
But to me, it's just not that exciting as a player. And I think like as decks get more complicated and have more cool things to do, having just like your single one line to victory, it just feels a little outdated.
It really does. Especially like as slivers have gotten more powerful, like they've gotten a lot more tools since 2018. Like Cloud Shredder Sliver is a new sliver. Lava Belly Slivers, like the Impact Tremors one.
Yeah.
Like those are really powerful tools. If you want to play slivers, it's more fun to just play the slivers that are available now than it is to just combo off with an artifact in your 99.
Yeah. I always try and warn players because I know it seems like slivers are still really popular, but keeping track of all of the keywords that your slivers have is actually a nightmare. So I try and warn players that if you really want to build a sliver deck, you have to keep in mind that this is going to tax your brain as you go through, and everyone else also needs to understand the keywords. So I personally don't recommend people build sliver decks. If you want to build a 5-color combo deck, there's so many other things to do. If you just want to do slivers because it's powerful and cool and fun and you just love the creature type, yeah, go for it. But it does end up making you kind of like go, ugh, okay, this one has flying, haste, shroud, trample, and at a certain point it's like, all right, doesn't matter.
I have a question. In 2025, if you're playing against a 5-color sliver deck, how afraid are you of that deck?
I'm pretty afraid because all the slivers obviously help each other out.
Together,
they work really well together.
Snowbally.
And a Cloud Shredder Sliver means you're going to be taking a lot of damage, and then you have all the like Lava Belly and stuff are pinging people too. But it is kind of a sludge to play through, and ultimately it's just like board wipe or bust. Yeah,
the thing about playing against slivers, it's a 5-color aggro deck, which is already like you're stumbling over your mana base, right? Like you're taking a lot of damage. You're trying to get all this stuff out. You're trying to curve out with slivers with a 5-color mana base, being face up that you're slivers and the whole table's against you. Somebody's going to have a board wipe. Like I am so much less afraid of slivers today than I was when I started, just because the board wipes weren't as good. Not as many people were playing it. It was as fast of an aggro deck as you'd ever seen.
Yeah.
And today, like, there's a lot better typal strategies than slivers for sure. And you're like, yeah, I'm afraid of the combos, and you do have to keep a boot on slivers or you'll get run over.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if I'm more afraid, but I'm just as afraid of like pirates as I am of slivers.
Sure. I think slivers to me just gets boring.
Yeah.
But for a lot of players, they just love the creature type.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, I'm not so afraid of it. I know exactly how it's going to work. And hopefully I'm bringing a deck to the table that doesn't just get run over.
Yeah. In 2025, you still hate playing against slivers?
Nah, bring it on.
Nah, you're okay.
Yeah.
If you're playing a 5-color combo deck, Sliver Queen's not your best option. It's probably just Najeela.
Najeela.
Najeela had just been printed. They didn't really know.
Yeah,
they knew, but they don't really.
Well, there's also like Sisay. There's a lot of different things you can do for 5-color combo. Yeah. Just having the single, again, it feels like Prossh. It's like, okay, cool, got it. You could do something else though.
Yeah. All right. Let's see who they hated next.
Oh, yeah.
It's Baral, Chief of Compliance.
Like, is it that different than any other blue commander?
It could be Talrand, and this could be Mizzix in the same slot. I like...
Okay.
Yeah, Baral, I think, is worse than the other two, because it literally says the word counters a spell on it, which tells you how people are almost always going to build it. It's like every time you do anything, you just have to look at the Baral player and be like, I cast this, does it resolve?
I think it just grinds the game down a little bit, and just everyone, it all centers and starts revolving around the Baral player and what they decide to counter and what they don't. And that kind of brings a different dynamic to the game.
Again, another deck that's low on win cons. So even when that deck's winning, it's not going to happen for a while. And that's another way where it's like, I don't mind. Like decks, they go off, they win, okay, they win. But it's when they go off and then the outcome of them going off is no one's doing anything that I'm like a little, that's not my favorite. Also, Baral's a 2-drop.
Yeah.
Why the heck did they make Baral a 2-drop? If it was a 4-drop like Talrand, I think it would be okay. Comes out so early and you have to kill it like twice before it's hard for them to recast. They made a little mistake here, I think.
Oh, Baral.
Baral. I thought this was a CEDH deck potentially. So based on my play groups, I don't think I've ever played against a Baral deck.
I played against one at a game store years ago, it was a stack of counterspells.
Yeah.
That like dug through its deck and tried to answer basically everything.
Sounds boring.
It's so boring, but it's also like, in 2025, if somebody sat down and pulled out Baral against me, I'd be like, you're trying to counter everything?
Yeah, or you're
Sick,
going
let's
for Storm.
see.
You just have a
or
mono
it's
blue Storm deck.
Yeah, because the cost reducers is like the thing I'm more worried about than them having a stack of counterspells. It's like if you're trying to go 1-for-1 against the whole table, good luck.
Good luck, yeah. That's going to be you're going to get outpaced super hard because you're drawing and discarding. You're not just drawing unless you start putting out other, draw engines and all that.
Right. I mean, that's sort of the thing. Like, this works in sort of the opposite direction of Grand Arbiter, right?
Yeah.
Where, like, Baral was stronger when we were trying to resolve, like, 4 and 5 mana spells, like, more reliably, rather than now when we're trying to resolve, like, a 2-drop and a 3-drop, or a 2 3-drops or something. Because you're going to sneak one past them.
Yeah, they can't counter everything, and they're constantly put up against the wall of, like, all right, which do I actually take out? Yeah, I remember Talrand being more of a menace back in the day because they got 2/2s and they could just kill you in the air.
And they could chump. So if you were if somebody was actually mad at you for countering all their stuff, you weren't just dead to whatever creature they actually resolved.
Yeah, I think Baral is still a very powerful card, but if you're building a Baral with just filled with counterspells, I don't know how many games you can actually win with that strategy.
Yeah, I don't think that this is the control commander that it was.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're playing control, there's a lot stronger options in 2025 than there was in 2018, which makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
and more colors too.
Yeah, I think if you were choosing to do like a stack of counterspell permission deck, then you would start looking at, Talrand, sure, but like Alayla Cunning Conqueror, like anytime you cast a spell during your opponent's turn, you make a fairy and goad something.
Yeah, now we don't have to build pure counterspells. You have really cheap cantrips. The goading is really good too.
Yeah, you're not as worried about creatures hitting the battlefield because you can control where they go.
Yeah.
Your counterspells get you bodies, so it's sort of like it's Talrand that also controls the creatures on the board and gives you a literal threat. And you're in black, so your creature removal is much stronger and your board wipes are much more permanent.
Yeah, it just seems like it's not as interesting to build Baral. Baral is a great fit in all of these decks because I think if you build purely around counterspells, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah, I think he's been relegated to the 99. You just kind of need more colors. You need more of an impactful commander. Even though he's cheap, he doesn't necessarily help with any of your card disadvantage or anything. Also, the reduction on counterspells isn't that good. The best counterspells are single blue,
right?
Or they're blue,
or free,
or they're blue 1, or they're free. Like, what are you reducing?
Yeah.
So, as a Storm commander, I think he's much more compelling and much more like scary.
Feels better as Storm. And then you noted that Niv Mizzet Perun, which is the blue, red, can't be countered whenever you draw a card, does 1 damage to any target, and whenever any player casts an instant or sorcery, you draw a card. This is a CEDH deck.
This is, This is like a Curiosity combo deck, so it's got a very compact win con.
Yeah.
And
it's just filled with value. Itself can't be countered. Is also a 5/5 beater in the air.
Right.
This came out 2 months before this episode was recorded, the 2018 one.
Right. So I don't think it had time to sort of get the hate that you would see against like a Baral or a Talrand or something that you've played against a lot. So it just feels like control commanders have improved vastly. Like even Marchesa, Dealer of Death, the one from OTJ.
Committing crimes,
Yeah, anytime you commit a crime, you can pay 1 and look at the top 2, and you get to put 1 into your hand, 1 into the bin.
Yeah.
So you're like fueling your graveyard, you're actually drawing a card, and it costs you 1 more, but like the efficiency isn't really what you're worried about in control. It's the card disadvantage.
Yeah. I like Marchesa a lot more. It just feels, Baral just feels outclassed. And again, a player in the 99 as a commander, it limits you almost in terms of what you're trying to do because it says counter on it. And I don't think you actually want players to sit down and think and know you're going to be countering a lot of stuff either.
Right. That's a scary thing for the entire table to know before the game even started.
Yeah.
That being said, there are some like interesting toys that have come out for Baral that makes him better, like Monument to Endurance. Whenever you discard a card, you draw a card.
Or make a treasure, or make each one lose 3 life. There is a win con.
So now you have like you're up on cards. Archmage Emeritus was not out yet.
Yeah.
Because this is from Strixhaven, so that's the Magecraft when you cast a spell, draw a card. Wavebreak, Hippocamp. The card draw engines in blue are much more. There's more of them.
Yeah.
It's not just Rhystic Study. So I think it's easier to sort of support this strategy if you're doing it, but I'm still not super afraid of somebody who's trying to go 1-for-1 against the entire table because I know I'll have friends in taking them down.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Everyone would just start swinging at them.
This next commander that they bring up is mono blue as well.
This is another oldie but goodie.
No, I'll let DJ introduce it.
All right, I'm going to go with my mono blue commander.
Okay.
The one that I have on here is Azami, Lady of Scrolls.
This is a really good one. I thought about putting this in my...
Oh, did you really?
In my mono blue slot. Yeah, this is a very powerful deck too.
Azami, by the way, like I mentioned that I like Azami in like my Braids deck. I actually like it as a part of the 99. I like it in decks where you have a lot of wizards and you can utilize the card draw.
Yep.
It's when it's the commander that it drives me crazy because I know the type of deck that's coming.
Yeah.
It's definitely a deck that sort of controls and then draws with the wizard. In fact, it almost has a secret commander. The secret commander is
Laboratory Maniac.
Is Laboratory Maniac.
Yeah, great.
And Laboratory Maniac is fine. I don't mind if you win with Lab Man.
I'm bored of it.
But
Just
I'm
FYI.
a little bit bored of it.
I've lost to it many times. It's the win condition of a lot of decks.
A lot of decks use it as like the primary win condition.
Yeah.
On its surface, that's an awesome card. I love you win the game cards.
Yeah, you win the game cards.
I really do. I love you win the game cards. But this has become so powerful and so ubiquitous that suddenly it's not unique anymore.
Competitive EDH decks, this is a win condition in quite a few of those, which tells you it's very, very strong. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
Azami, Lady of Scrolls.
Yep, we know her.
This is not a scary deck.
2 blue for a 0/2.
I don't play against these decks. DJ, what is your play group? I would love to think that people back in 2018 were watching this and going like, oh, gotta watch out for the Azami deck.
This is a sweet one. I mean, like, Lady played an Azami deck on extra turns and won with it. And it's like, yeah, it does the combo thing. So it
draws a lot of cards.
It says tap an untapped wizard you control, draw a card.
Right.
So you can tap Azami right
yeah.
away. You can draw a lot of cards with this commander.
Yeah.
But most often Azami is sort of like an expensive mono blue combo list.
Yeah.
That wins with like Mind Over Matter.
Right. Choose and discard the card, tap or untap target artifact, creature, or land. So you just draw, discard, draw this card over and over again.
Right. Which is like 2 blue. So now
so
you need
much.
5, you need 11 mana worth of blue permanents in play, both of which are scary.
Yeah. And Lab Man.
And Lab Man.
And
14 mana in a mono blue list.
You know, Thassa's Oracle hadn't been printed yet, which is like a very popular win con these days for the competitive world. And that's a wizard too.
It's also significantly more powerful than Laboratory Maniac because you don't have to draw the last card.
Yeah.
You can just empty your library, and Thassa's Oracle, you don't even have to empty it as long as your devotion to blue is not blue.
Yeah, your
devotion to blue is fine.
Yeah, Mind Over Matter makes it like a billion or whatever. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know about Azami. This just makes me think that DJ's playgroup was very combo heavy, and Azami was one of the 17 different decks that all had these like win on the spot combos.
Right. This sort of goes into the same sort of glass cannon combo lists where if you resolved like an A+B combo with your commander, then you win the game. A lot of what we've talked about are sort of A+B combos with your commander. Mm-hmm. But the thing about that is it's so telegraphed and the whole table will turn against you. Creatures hit the battlefield so much sooner, so you can start pressuring the decks that you're more afraid of so much faster than you ever could in 2018. Like, I can't even imagine casting Azami, untapping with Azami, and then casting Mind Over Matter, nothing happening, and then comboing off.
Yeah. You can do it at instant speed, which is cool, but
Yeah.
to me, this feels like old Magic. Look at all of us doing our thing. We're not really interacting with each other. Combo decks were way more popular, I feel like, back in the day.
Yeah.
And these days, it's more about like this commander, if it isn't here, my deck still does the thing.
Right. And yeah, a deck like this is not really going to work if you don't have Azami in play.
Yeah.
The other thing I was thinking about is like any blue deck can kind of do a Mind Over Matter combo because the One Ring exists.
Oh, gosh.
So it's like you
untap
just
it.
don't need Azami anymore to infinitely draw your deck. Like there's a million easier ways to do this combo that they're worried about now. Like
Azami-
Unctus exists.
Unctus, that's right. And Azami forces you to play the Wizards package, too.
Right.
So you can't necessarily play the non-Wizards. But most of the cards that matter in these types of games are Wizards anyway.
Yeah, I'm specifically thinking of just like if you want to build a mono blue combo list that draws your whole deck and wins with Thassa's Oracle, like Unctus works with a Phaedo Alchemist and you combo all the way off. And that works very well. Like it doesn't work as well with Azami and it is much more telegraphed. Yeah, you can still do that, but nobody really does it, like you said, because if you don't have your commander in play, then your deck doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
And you get stuck in this really narrow one-trick pony type of deck that just isn't as popular as it used to be. And maybe that's like the interesting thing is because they're less popular, they're less hated.
Yeah.
Where it's like if you don't actually play against these things, it's hard to hate them because you're like, I guess you could be doing Azami in 2025.
I think they're more popular when every other deck is trying to do the same thing. So then
Right.
it becomes like a drag race, where
Sure.
every car is just trying to go brrr, as fast as it can to get to the finish line. And then that's kind of fun because everyone's racing each other to get to their like crucial I win the game moment.
Right.
But it just doesn't feel like Commander is very much that style unless you are, again, finding a play group that built themselves almost into it over time. It's like
Right.
those play groups that they play a bunch and then they need to get faster and need to get more combo-y or whatever to start winning. And then eventually it just becomes everyone's a combo deck. And everyone's just trying to ramp out and get it happening as fast as possible.
Right. And there was just fewer legends. So
Yeah.
everything was more popular
Right.
because there weren't as many cool options.
Now there are no shortage of choices
Yeah.
for legends.
I do think that decks like this, if you wanted to build Azami in 2025, it does have a lot of cool new tools. It has a lot of like strong blue redundancy. Like Unctus is a great one, but like Valley Flood Collar lets you do this at flash speed.
Oh, cool.
And it untaps itself whenever
Yeah.
you cast a non-creature spell. So you can tap it to draw a card, cast a spell, untap him. It's like a cool combo that, wasn't on the table.
Yeah,
when
Wizard
they were
Tribal.
talking about it.
Still fun.
Still fun.
Wizards are powerful.
You're probably playing Naban if you're doing that, like in our Mono Blue episode. I think Naban is a much more like stable, less terrifying commander.
Yeah.
But Azami's sweet.
Draw some cards? Who doesn't love to do that?
Yeah. I wanted to talk about something that they mentioned is they talk about Labman being a common win con at the time. And like dying to Labman all the time is sort of what they talk about. And you're like, that doesn't really happen anymore. Like we don't have Thassa's Oracle in casual pretty much ever. Like it's been kind of pushed up into the higher echelons of commander play.
It feels like Labman was, again, when the format was less evolved, it was just one of the popular flavors of ice cream that
Sure.
everyone, it was like Rocky Road. Yeah, people eat Rocky Road. Not always, but it's there on the menu. But now we've got like, Rocky Road Universes Beyond style mixed
Sure.
with whatever it is, right? There's like 1,000 new flavors of trying to win the game. And so I think the original Rocky Road is like, whatever. It's a little boring.
People got a little bored of it. It also just got, you're right, there's just more options. So everything is less popular because there's more things. It's a much flatter
Rocky
meta.
Road more like vanilla now. Boring.
Yeah, that's something that's really interesting is like commanders used to be overwhelmingly popular. Like when Atla Palani came out, there was like 5 of them at our game store. And now that's like, you'll see 1 or 2 maybe, but there's not really a commander that hits the airwaves that is everywhere.
It was like Sauron
as much as it,
as well when it came out.
Yeah, like Ishin is a really popular new one.
Yeah.
But it does feel like everything is a lot flatter than it used to be.
Yeah.
All right, that's Azami. We're going to keep on moving. This next one's predictable.
Yeah, and it actually is still very powerful.
We did our list separately, and this is the only one we had on both our lists.
Yeah.
It's Narset Enlightened Master. This is a very powerful version of this effect because it's on attack. It's not on combat damage. Doesn't have to hit them.
Number one.
Number
Yes.
It's the top 4 cards of your library.
4 cards is so deep.
And what they want is very simple. It's extra combat steps and extra turns.
The game spirals out of control from there. And part of you wants to just be like, and it's over.
Yeah.
But
they can whiff.
But they can whiff. And they have such a critical mass of take an extra turn, extra combat, but they're only swinging with the 3/2.
So it can happen. So you have to sit there and watch it. But it's very low percentage chance. 90% of the time they swing, you're dead. Everyone's dead. Another thing about Narset that makes it very, very powerful is she has natural hexproof. Hexproof on the card. So that just makes it extremely difficult to get rid of. You can Wrath and stuff, of course, but Narset's going to come back, and eventually she's going to get an attack in. The only games you beat Narset is where she literally never attacks. So as the Narset player, it can become frustrating where, like, no one's allowing me to ever swing with this.
Yeah.
So
the deck doesn't work if you don't really swing with it.
That's another reason to hate it, right? It's not even fun for the person playing it a lot of times. Either they win or they don't play.
Okay.
Oh, Narset.
Narset. Actually, still kind of scary.
Still kind of scary. Yeah, it still made the episode in Commanders We Hate Playing Against in 2023. I believe Jordan talked about her.
Narset continue. All the Narsets continue to be problems. We talked about Narset in Tarkir Dragonstorm. That is definitely a problem.
She is just a very powerful monk. Yeah, so we also talked about her in the Scariest Commanders to Play Against. That was at number 521. And we talk about like this clock in terms of how scary they are, like how fast they can go off.
Yeah.
And Narset's sort of, if you untap with her, or it's the first time she attacks.
Yeah, giving her haste, obviously, too. Time Warp is like the big one, or just any extra turn spells. Any commander that says I can cast multiple extra turn spells is going to be a scary commander to play against.
Here's the thing. Narset's still scary, Hexproof still sucks, and they can definitely go off if they get an attack with it.
Yeah.
But there's more tools than ever to deal with this.
For sure.
There's less fast mana because of the banning of, well, Jeweled Lotus didn't exist at this time.
Yeah, Jeweled Lotus,
but
makes it what it was,
Mana Crypt is gone as well. So like there's a lot less fast mana than there used to be to get Narset out. And she's a 3/2 that has to attack in a meta where creatures are better and like better statted than they have ever been.
Yeah.
Like there's so many 4-mana 4/4s that hit the battlefield on turn 3 in Commander that does make attacking safely with Narset a lot more difficult than it was in 2018.
Yeah, they have to set it up more. And if they do only get one attack because it is going to get blocked and killed, then they have to be hitting their extra turn spells to really get
But even then, they have to like, okay, I'll recast Narset on the second turn. She's 8 mana now. I have to re-equip shoes or whatever we have.
Yeah, 6 mana is a lot, which is why I think the newer Narsets are just, to me, scarier because they do the thing without having to rely on just this one trick.
Yeah, this is more of the glass cannon combo decks where it's like, I'm going to turbo out my plan and I'm going to enact the plan. Like now you have
Please
to
don't
have
counter it.
so much more like protection spells. You need to have so much more. Like I think it has to be more of a mid-range deck rather than a combo deck today because A, she's so hated that like you can't rely on attacking with her. And B, she's just not as guaranteed as she used to be.
Yeah, it's 6 mana as well. I think you're wanting to wait to get to like 8 mana so you can play or hold up something and do the thing or some interaction or whatever it is. To me, it's just, it's still in the glass cannon meta that we've talked about, but she still is scary enough that she is relevant regardless today.
Yeah. Like, I don't think somebody sits down across from you with a Narset and you're like, well, that won't be a problem. Because she's designed to be a problem. It's sort of, she's Winota for spells.
This is what's happening. Yeah. Whoa, here we go.
So, but I do think that like in 2025, a lot of really powerful commanders have caught up to her. And we have this expectation of like if you think of Voha.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's a very similar thing where it's like, okay, they've got Ward 3 or something ridiculous. They have to attack. And if they do, the game is basically over.
They're going to draw a bunch of cards.
Similar feeling.
Yeah.
But that is not 1/3/2 attacking you. That's 5 elves that are 5/5s and you draw 4 cards, you know?
Yeah, Voha has made me look at Narset and go like, that's cute. Hope you get your plan off, which is kind of what a lot of the glass cannon decks feel like now. And now that everyone also, it's not so new. When Narset first came out, I don't think people even knew sometimes when they sat down next to one, like, okay, what's going to happen? Oh, no. And then that game is already over.
Right. I think everybody knows what Narset's capable of, and the table gangs up against you. And then you have a 6-mana commander in Jeskai that you have to attack with, and everybody hates.
Yeah, and it's Jeskai, so it's harder to ramp as well. Right. DJ does have a Winota deck, so it does feel very Narset-y, but Winota, it feels, is just way more resilient than the Narset deck is.
Yeah, so I'm not saying run out and like build Narset in 2025. I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's a glass cannon that your opponents will be very afraid of and will do everything in their power to stop you.
Yeah, they'll hate you out.
But I don't think it's the same kind of clock that it was in 2018 that it was today.
It's number 250 on EDH Rec, so it's actually kind of up there. Number 10 in Jeskai. But higher rated cards are like Kaikar Wins Fury.
Much more popular. Number 89.
Yeah, I'm sure Hinoda's up there. And then Narset Enlightened Exile's up there. I'm sure even the newest one from Tarkir Dragonstorm is going to surpass it too.
Right. I think we've got lots of Jeskai commanders that people are very passionate about, and I think the new Narset is a lot more stable, and we've played against it plenty. It's also very powerful.
Yeah, I just don't love Jeskai. It just feels so. Ugh.
It's either cracked in half or it's terrible, and that's how it feels. Like finding a middle ground with Jeskai is so tough.
Yeah, again, it's one of those decks that has 20-minute turns.
Yeah.
So.
All right, let's move on to the next most hated pick in 2018.
Ridiculous. It's
so fun.
My last one is Edric, Spymaster of Trest.
This sounds sweet. The politics of it seems sweet.
It's cool. They hit each other direct. They draw cards. They end up liking Edric and stuff like that. But when it's sitting in the command zone, often the deck does not play out like that. It is a death from 1,000 paper cuts. Because the way they play this deck is they play Island, Flying Man, go.
Yeah, Invisible Stalker.
They play 1/1s with evasion in some way as low as possible. And so they play those out. And so sometimes you see the curve of turn 1 mana 1/1. Turn 2 1 mana 1/1s. And then Edric, draw 3 cards, go.
Yep.
Then it's the next turn where they're drawing 5 cards, and then suddenly you're facing down an extra turn spell. And they chain all this stuff together.
Once they're drawing like 7 or 8, their chance to draw an extra turn spell is so high that they play it, hit you again, draw 8 more, probably draw 1, and on the extra turn, play it, and then they can just get into these chains. At the end, it's usually like, they took like 7 turns in a row and killed us all with a bunch of,
but
with
you get
9
like
1/1s.
poked with these tiny creatures, and it's just like, ugh.
Okay, Edric.
So this is a like classic boogeyman of Commander, like days of yore. He's currently ranked number 611 on EDH Rec. He is the 27th most popular Simic commander.
Yeah, there's just a lot of better ways to win in Simic, turns out.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of looking at Edric and being like, this is the best draw engine in Simic. Yeah. Tatiova had just come out in 2018, so was starting to pick up steam when they were talking about it there.
Edric feels like a typal commander. It's just like, cool, you're just going to do combat damage creatures. And that doesn't seem like a great way to win the game because your deck has to be filled with all these 1/1s.
Your deck is bad. Like,
yeah.
It's full of all these bad creatures.
And also your opponents are drawing a bunch of cards, and these days, allowing that to happen is even scarier and not as great for you, right?
I just like, they're talking about they're like, this insane curve where you draw 3 cards on turn 3. And you're like, I guess?
After playing 3 cards,
but like,
you draw 3 more 1/1s.
There's so many Simic commanders that are just going to draw more than 3 cards every turn, for sure.
Yeah.
And they can also play a stack of extra turn spells. Like, the problem isn't Edric. The problem is extra turn spells.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking too. That's 100% the case. Also, this card isn't that powerful because it has room for flavor text. Look at any of the really powerful commanders that have Simic in them, and there's not a single. They have to make the text smaller.
Yeah, I was looking. I was like, Chulane draws more cards than this.
Gosh.
Xyrus, the Writhing Storm, draws more cards than this. Does give your opponent's cards as well, but so does Edric, and then also makes you a ton of bodies and has an additional color.
Xyrus laughs at Edric. Helga, Skittish Seer is a really funny one to put on here too. Like, there's just so many cards that do so much more, and then also ramp. Because the thing about Edric is it doesn't ramp you into the late game.
No.
Chulane adds that ramp. Helga adds that ramp. Edric is just like, all right, I'm going to play a lot of things that can draw me cards.
Well, they're talking about it. They're like, it's all these 1-mana 1/1s that are good in the early game, and then you use the extra turns to just not get to the late game.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just going to stay in my early game, and y'all are not going to progress at all.
Right. I'm just going to kill you I'm going to take 120 life off the table with 10 1/1s.
Right. And you're like, I guess. I just don't think, like, the clocks are just so much better than they used to be. I did want to talk about this, though, because I do think Edric is a better deck than it was then. Like, our 2-mana flyers are so much better than, like, the 1-mana 1/1 do-nothing flyers that they were playing in this deck in 2018. Like, Fairy Mastermind draws a ton of cards, and Ledger Shredder draws a ton of cards. Murderous Mystic draws a ton of cards.
Mischievous Mystic, yeah.
Mischievous Mystic, excuse me.
Becomes murderous, makes a bunch of fairies with the card draw, yeah.
And then draws you even more cards. Like, I do think there is a very strong Edric deck today.
Mm-hmm. Edric feels like a budget deck.
Yeah.
It's like a fun budget deck. You know you're going to have consistency. You're going to draw a bunch of cards, and then your win con's going to be very specific.
Right. I don't think if you built it today, you have to lean on the extra turn thing in order to build a cool, fun Edric deck. Like, you have green, you just build a wide board, you draw a bunch of cards, and you play an overrun. Mm-hmm. It's not a super complicated deck to play, and the tools that it has today are much better than the tools it used to have.
Yeah. I will also say that giving your opponent's card draw is actually scarier than it was back then as well, because overall card quality has gone up so much. So it may have been less impactful back in the day when everyone was, let's say, playing their 6-mana, 7-mana commander decks because they were just drawing very expensive costed cards. But now if you're giving everyone all the access in the world to all the cards, then they're 2-spelling, double spelling, and they're catching up to what you're doing, but with bigger and better creatures with more text on it than just this creature's unblockable or flying.
Right. So many commander decks have access to this coastal piracy effect that you don't really need to play a symmetrical effect like Edric. You just play Toski, or you play there's coastal piracy existed in 2018, but there's like 3 additional ones that they've printed since then. There's the pirate ship and the one that cycles, and you
don't need to have your commander give it to everyone. You can just give it to yourself.
This effect isn't that rare anymore. That Edric is the powerhouse that it used to be.
Yeah.
So,
it's still very effective, though. I would say Edric's a fun deck for a new player.
Very straightforward.
Very straightforward, and especially for lower power pods where everyone is going to be able to get action from drawing, and it encourages combat damage. Like, that type of behavior is great. I don't think it's scary to play against. And if anything, I'm actually kind of excited to see it because I know I'm going to be swinging out and drawing extra cards. Anytime another deck gives me the ability to draw cards, I know my game's just going to go better.
That was the other thing is, like, when they were talking about Edric then, it wasn't common for any deck to play 1-mana and 2-mana creatures. Yeah. And now it's much more common for us to have cheap creatures that can take advantage of the Edric card draw before Edric gets online than it was back in 2018.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, we're going to move on to some of the honorable mentions that they talk about this episode. So these are commanders that they want to make sure that they talk about so they're not yelled at by the comments. So there isn't quite as much detail about these, and Josh and DJ don't personally hate them, but they were sort of the boogeymen of the format at the time.
Very
so I did want to talk through them.
Okay, let's see what the first quote unquote, if we don't talk about it, we're going to be yelled at commander is.
Zur was one we both thought about.
Yeah, again, I don't mind Zur. And actually, I think the Zur that we dislike is Doomsday Zur, the one that sort of combos really quickly. And I've actually seen a lot of more goofy Zurs around recently. And so I've actually thought Zur's pretty cool.
Yeah, Zur tutors enchantments and puts them into play. So that's a very strong thing to be doing. And
sometimes the lines are very established that you're like, the first thing I get is this, the second thing I get is this, the third thing I get is this.
In the very strong decks, actually, Zur is kind of a backup plan to go get Necropotence, and the Doomsday thing is the main part of it, which doesn't actually rely on Zur, which is weird, but that's the way it goes.
Okay, Zur or Post the Enchanter.
Post the Enchanter.
Most people don't like the Zur deck because of this exact thing, I think. Doomsday, Necropotence, and all that.
I mean, it's powerful to have a tutor in your command zone.
Yeah.
Having a tutor in your command zone that is 4 mana and has to attack in Esper is less scary than it used to be.
For sure.
But I don't think, like, I'm less afraid of Zur today than I am in the past because everybody sort of runs more disruption, so disrupting Zur is easier. I think that, like, most of the fear in having Zur across from you at the table is based on, like, the hidden information, right? Like, what kind of Zur deck is this? Like, do I need to make sure that you can't attack with Zur once? Or is this like a Zur, background deck? Is it a Zur Enchantress deck?
Yeah.
Because that's a different level of disruption. And I think if you're building Zur in 2025, that is something you should be very honest with. If you're like, this is a tutor to get me a combo piece that will win me the game.
Yeah. It feels, again, very glass cannon-y, like a lot of the commanders we talked about today. And the fact that Zur doesn't have to do combat damage means they just need to get to combat.
Right.
So that does make it still pretty powerful. It's actually number 76 on EDH Rec.
It is.
It's really high.
It's very popular. I mean, especially for Esper, I don't think there's a ton of commanders that people really latched onto.
Yeah.
He is behind Alayla Artful Provocateur, which is at 63.
Yeah.
And I think that's a much more common Esper Enchantress commander because you cast enchantments, you get these fairies. Zur still has this like, oh no, it's Zur to him that I don't know if you'll be able to do like sort of a mid-rangey Enchantress value pile with Zur without being very explicit with the playgroup that you're playing against.
Yeah, I mean, Necropones just existing is going to make Zur just a terrifying commander because in those lists, Necropones just gets you there and it gets you to the combo pieces and hopefully it just wins the game. But yeah, I don't know. I think like, for me, I just don't see that many Zurs. I see way more Alaylas, and then the other one, the cast spells on their turns, and the goading one.
The blue-black Alayla.
Blue-black Alayla, yeah. Esper is just, I think, in a tough spot, specifically. It's the white-blue problem again.
It's the white-blue problem again. They haven't really solved like what makes Esper cool to play in Commander.
Yeah.
They're, again, sort of combo engines, or they're just extremely powerful.
Yeah.
And I think Zur is more okay today than he was in 2018, for sure. I think he's a little slower. And I think if somebody sat down and they were like, it's Zur, but it's an enchantments deck, and I'm just like, I'm trying to put enchantments into play.
Yeah.
I would still treat that with the level of respect that an enchantment deck deserves, but I don't think I would be like, you're never attacking with Zur.
Yeah. Unless you knew that they're going to Necro and then try and win off
course,
that.
yeah.
But it could be like, this is a curse deck with Zur or whatever it is.
I always thought it'd be funny to build a Zur backgrounds deck.
Zur's just got all of the
Look
skills.
at me!
Yeah, that's hilarious.
But obviously it has the like Zur is scary effect.
Alayla, though, just feels better.
She's just better. She just gives you more of a board. She just pays you off a lot better.
Yeah. Has lifelink.
Yeah.
Yeah. Death touch. You're not going to block that. All right. So Zur is one of their honorable mentions. Let's see what the next one is.
Atraxa is another one that a lot of people don't like. I feel like people don't like Atraxa simply by virtue of the fact that she's everywhere. Like, you see her all the time.
She's super popular.
Yeah.
I actually don't mind Atraxa because there's a ton of different ways to build it, and I've seen so many different variations of it that ultimately your deck could be very different than another person's deck.
Atraxa Super Friends is a little bit like, it's going to be a slog. It's not like, it's not so powerful, but it's just like, it's going to be a long game because we're going to spend a lot of time trying to get rid of Planeswalkers and keep Atraxa under control, but it's still a cool deck.
Hey!
We knew she was going to come up, Atraxa.
Yeah, she is still the number one most built commander on EDH Rec.
Yep.
My theory is that when the 4-color commanders came out, Atraxa just was the easiest to look at and go like, yup, if I'm going to build one, it's going to be this one.
Counters.
And it doesn't have red in it. Because red sucks in Commander. Back then, red really was bad in Commander.
Yeah, it just gives you all the best colors, and it gives you this ridiculous body that's flying, vigilance, death touch, lifelink. It's impossible to attack into, and it like gives you the proliferate thing, which can be used in a million different ways.
Yeah.
Like they sort of allude to, there's like Planeswalker Atraxa, and there's +1 counters Atraxa, and there's Infect Atraxa. There's so many different versions of her that you never really knew what kind of Atraxa you were playing against.
Yeah, and that allows also the Brewers. This feels like a Brewers deck too, because just the proliferate thing says, cool, you can go any of your favorite directions in it. You can go green-white counters or whatever, so...
Yeah, I mean, there was a guy at my game store that had 3 Atraxas lists.
Hilarious.
He had 3, and one was +1 counters, one was Planeswalkers, one was Infect, and he was like, pick an Atraxa, and we were like, oh, God.
It's like the attraction of Atraxas, yeah.
Yeah, he had a whole bunch of them. That's
hilarious.
Today, I do think Atraxa is still very popular. It's number 1 in EDH Rec, and it has the most powerful colors in Commander.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Even if you don't do the proliferate thing, it's still a sweet card.
It's still just a busted Commander that like supports a 4-color deck. Like Olivia has a Enchantress Atraxa list that doesn't do anything with Atraxa at all. It's just 4 colors to draw out her deck. Enchantress.
That in and of itself too is just to play the 4 colors. It just play Atraxa. Right?
Yeah.
You don't want to do 5 colors. You'd rather do something that because if you're in a pinch and you're low in life, cast Atraxa. You're set.
An interesting question though is like, what do you think of Atraxa in 2025? Like if you sit across from her.
I would just go cool. You're playing a 4-color list. I don't know what it's about.
Right.
It's probably going to take some long turns, and if it gets scary, I'll deal with it, but I'm not worried about it.
I'm a little more worried about Atraxa today than I am back in the day.
Because of all the poison stuff?
Because there's so much incidental put a poison counter on each player.
Oh, right.
And there's so much more proliferate that you don't have to have a whole deck built around Infect to make a very powerful Infect deck.
It could just get there.
Yeah, like All Will Be One introduced 4 instants and sorceries that are like, each opponent sacrifices a creature and gets a poison counter.
You draw a card and everyone gets a poison counter.
And that's like a very real clock. So as long as your deck is like sort of centered around this proliferate plan, you can be dead in a couple of turns whether you have Atraxa or not. And that's not an Infect list. That just is incidentally proliferate, and there's more proliferate support than there was back in 2018.
Yeah, to me it's funny because the scariest part of Atraxa is the lifelink. Because it just feels like life totals get so low so fast that
And
anything with
blocking
lifelink,
sucks.
you never want to block. You can't attack into it. They're happily traded away for something that's bigger or scarier. So it's just like a very effective wall, and then it can just incidentally gain them life, and it's got vigilance. Right?
Yeah, I'm also just more afraid of decks with more colors. Like I just know they're playing a good stuff pile. I just know that it's going to do busted stuff.
Yeah, it's harder to predict. Like when you're playing a mono red deck, it's like, what am I afraid of? Pyroblast and Tybalt's Trickery.
Yeah.
I'm playing an Atraxa pile. It's like, I don't know.
I am.
They're holding up 3 mana. Could be literally anything except for Tybalt's Trickery.
She's still really powerful, and she's still really open-ended. I think she's kind of in a very similar spot to where she was in 2018.
Yeah, I don't know if it's most hated to play against.
Yeah, I definitely don't hate it.
Chulane is at the very top of that list.
Yeah.
Atraxa is like, cool, it's an Atraxa deck. They're so common. There's so many different ways to do it that I'm not hating it. Maybe, like you said, I'm a little scared, but I'm not like, oh, no, Atraxa.
Yeah.
But Grand Arbiter, it's like, oh, gosh.
Yeah, for sure.
But definitely still very popular for good reason.
Let's see who's next.
I know a lot of people that have Animar decks that are really difficult to interact with because it's a race to statue. What is that called? The statue combo where you just bounce.
Ancestral statue?
Yeah, where you just bounce the statue back and forth over and over again, or some other
Cloudstone Curio.
Dream Stalker, Dream.
There's a whole bunch of cards that basically go infinite with Animar once you get a couple of counters on them. You play a creature that bounces itself or another creature, and you get 2 of those going, and Animar just gets arbitrarily large. And Animar also has protection from what?
Black and white.
Black and white. So a lot of times can just swing for free. When you lose, you just tend to lose to like,
Arbitrarily big Animar.
Yeah.
Animar! This is one of my favorite decks from the early days. I never play it. I took it apart because it's too glass cannon-y.
Let's read this one because I do think Animar has sort of fallen by the wayside.
Yeah. Green, blue, red, 1/1, legendary creature elemental, protection from white and from black. We used to love that because those are the main removal colors. Whenever you cast a creature spell, put a 1/1 counter on Animar, and creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each +1/+1 counter on Animar. So there are combos with like Cloudstone Curio or Ancestral Statue where you play it, Animar gets bigger, and then all of a sudden your colorless spells are free, and then you're just bouncing them left and right, and you make Animar a billion swing and kill.
Yeah. I say that it fell by the wayside, and then I just looked at this number in EDH Rec. I haven't played against this card in ages, but it is still number 25 on EDH Rec.
Yes.
It is the number 2 most popular commander in Temur.
Yeah, it's going to get taken over immediately by Eshki, Temur's Roar, because this card, I think, is just better.
It just draws cards.
It draws cards, it deals damage. It's not an instant, we have to kill that. It doesn't have the combo potential that people see with Animar. But I think when it comes to Temur, Animar still is, just because of the cost reduction. And this is one of those old cards that feels like it could have been printed today because it has so much text. Because I remember when this came out, it was like, holy, listen, like a
what
track.
is this?
I can't believe it.
Right.
And very few of those cards existed back in the day.
Right.
Now it's like every other card is that, oh my gosh, what, are you kidding me? So I think that's why it's still really popular.
I was looking at Animar decks because I was like, I don't know how afraid of Animar I would be in 2025.
Yeah.
And I was like, how many of them are running Ancestral Statue? And the answer is over half. So Ancestral Statue, Animar is still very common. It's like 53% of decks are trying to go infinite with Animar in some way.
Yeah.
It
it doesn't mean to win immediately, by the way.
It doesn't
they have
mean
to still
no.
attack and all that. Yeah.
Or fling. I guess they could Chandra's Ignition
Sure,
or something.
sure.
So like, there's definitely lots of combo Animar decks running around, but I don't think they're as scary as a lot of the combo decks we're used to.
It could be that you wrote this down. There's many more Eldrazi.
There's a lot more Eldrazi.
So that does make Animar much more attractive in that there's just a lot of colorless spells that you get to cast for free.
Yeah, I think that like Animar has better payoffs if you're not going infinite. There's more Hydras, there's more colorless creatures that are powerful. There's like Animar is a better deck than it was then, even if it isn't a combo deck. But I do agree that like Eshki is probably just a better engine that gives you a way to kill multiple players and keeps your hand full. Whereas, like, if Animar gets board wiped or something, then you start from scratch.
Yeah. Animar goes great in the Eshki deck.
Sure.
And the difference is Animar is also playing a lot of, like, wood elves and creature-based ramp that can cost just a green mana.
Right.
Whereas Eshki is, you want to play power 4 or greater cards. But, again, there's so many options for it that I think Eshki just can get there. And being able to draw the cards is really important because you don't want to waste your card draw slots in Animar on a sorcery, or you want everything to be creature-based. And so is Eshki, too.
Yeah, Animar is sort of the Chulane of the day, where it's like full of creatures and the payoff was huge and you got to cast these enormous things for free. That's not exactly what Chulane is doing, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
The deck lists sort of have the same look to them.
Yeah, I also think there's a lot more incidental, just lightning bolt type effects. Animar is just going to die to a red burn spell or something really, cheeky, like a fight spell or something. Like the protection from white and black was much, much better when those were the best ways to get rid of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, bounce is still around. Bounce is good.
My gosh.
Like
bounce just gets better, if anything, because over investing into something, that's why it's better to cast 2 spells instead of 1, just because of like bounce effects are so good now.
Yeah, I think Animar is still a powerful card that you can still die to in 2025, but I'm definitely not worried about like dying immediately and in a horrible way to an Animar deck.
It seems like a lot of the most hated commanders for players in this episode are ones that don't give you a chance to do anything.
Right.
Animar takes time. It's a snowball going downhill.
Yeah.
All right, one more honorable mention. Who's it going to be?
And the last one that a lot of people mention is Derevi.
Sheldon Menery had it in the article of a card that he thought was dangerous for the or that he didn't like in his play group. That's one of his most hated cards.
Yeah, there you go. So Derevi taps and untaps things and gets around commander attacks. Problem is, Derevi decks are usually stacks decks. They usually revolve around things like Stasis and Winter Orb because Derevi gives you a way to tap and untap things that other players don't have. And so similar to Grand Arbiter, you just kind of run into these games where like it's going to be a slog.
I might be like a little bit annoyed by Derevi, but I'm actually maybe I don't see it enough that it's not driving me insane like some people out there. But I kind of like the Bird Wizard. It looks cool.
I used to have a Derevi deck, and it did some of those Stasis-y Winter Orb things, and I was like, this is not that fun, and it takes forever. So I took it apart. So maybe that's why we don't see Derevi a lot, because people who play it maybe got bored with it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, Derevi.
This is a classic. So Derevi Empyrial Tactician is a 3 mana 2/3 with flying, but really you're going to pay 4 mana because it has an activated ability that's 1 a green, a white, and a blue. Put Derevi onto the battlefield from the command zone.
Never have to pay commander tax.
Nope,
for Derevi.
instant speed. And when Derevi enters the battlefield or a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may tap or untap target permanent.
Yeah.
So you can lock down lands, you can untap yours, you can untap your One Ring. That didn't exist at the time, but oh no!
I don't think when they made Derevi, they understood just the level of badness that was going to come with it.
No.
I think they were like, oh, cool, yeah, untapping, tapping, cool. It's like a, fun type of thing deck. But it's like, no, you said permanent, not non-land permanent.
Yeah.
And you gave Derevi this insane ability that very few cards have, which is the ability to cheat themselves out from the command zone.
Right.
And Yuriko is another notable example of that, and one of the most popular
very
commanders.
Powerful.
And very popular, yeah.
Yeah, Derevi is still quite popular. It's number 136 on EDH Rec. It's number 5 in Bant.
Okay, it's up there.
It is more popular than Chulane.
Wow.
I know.
Could be just an older commander, because this came out
Yes.
in very original precon.
It could be that it's just been around longer. But it is very interesting. I wanted to look up like what Derevi looked like in 2025. So I went to EDH Rec. I was scrolling through that page, and there was like 15% of the decks played Winter Orb and like 13% played Stasis. And I was like, okay, so what is everybody else doing if they're not doing this sort of like Staxy Derevi deck? It's bird typal. There's tons of lists that are Derevi bird lists.
Oh, because they're just gonna attack, deal combat damage.
Yeah, and untap their lands or untap their birds or tap your
One Ring.
blockers or something.
Yeah.
And like That's so funny to me. He's like, I had a Derevi Merfolk list.
Yeah.
I had one because I was like, Merfolk do this tap on tap thing. I can
cool.
I can use Derevi to untap my stuff. It'll be fine. And I just got murdered.
Because everyone was like, no.
Derevi? No.
No.
And I was like, I'll play Lord of Atlantis. No. Like,
killer. Get Derevi out of here.
And I wonder if that's the experience of all these people playing bird typo with Derevi, or if we've just forgotten the reputation that Derevi had for so long.
Yeah, I mean, is it, or it could just be that it's not as good as it used to be, so people are okay with it?
Maybe.
Or, I don't know. I haven't played against a Derevi deck in what feels like forever, but I'm used to the Stasis Winterlord version of this.
Right.
If it's just combat damage, tap on tap things, yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty powerful. One ring, untap that sucker.
The 2-mana flyers are better than they've ever been.
Yeah.
Like, you have the Ledger Shredders, a bird. You have Malcolm and that kind of stuff. That's just
a bird.
That's just good 2-mana flyers that'll untap your stuff so that you can do this as like a very powerful flying man list.
Yeah. Compare this to Edric, right? Like,
oh my God. And you have better tools than you've ever had in terms of like what you can to untap. The One Rings are very powerful. I was thinking about Delny, Streetwise Lookout.
Because Derevi has 2 power, right?
Right. So anytime Derevi triggers, which is on ETB, and anytime any creature hits,
attacks,
you untap or tap 2 things.
Derevi actually still might be just one of the most powerful commanders of all time.
Like, I genuinely think Derevi's still busted.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like, and still, if they just built it, like, if you just forget Derevi's of old, if you like blank all of what you know about Derevi and you built a modern day version, it's so cracked. Like, I think this is like
you're playing bounce lands to untap them. You're doing all sorts of different things to untap. Yeah.
It sounds sick.
Yeah. I mean, if they made it today, it might actually be nerfed. It would probably say, like, whenever Derevi or one or more creatures instead of just
definitely one or more.
A creature deals combat damage, so you can't have multiple triggers, and it probably would have either much more expensive insta put it onto the battlefield. Because I don't think they knew just how good that would be when they printed it. Probably.
I mean, this is the kind of card that I look at and I'm like, oh, I want to build like a bracket for
Should this
super
be a game
sick.
changer?
I mean, yeah.
It's kind of got that.
But I think like we talk about Derevi so much, you're like, ugh, Stasis deck, and you're like, I don't know, I think it's Derevi. Like, I think Derevi's just Derevi.
Yeah. You can play Stasis with a lot of different commanders.
Yeah.
Derevi is just busted, because you just play unblockable stuff or
still
flyers.
Definitely very scared of Derevi. I don't know if I'd hate to play against it because I think I'd be excited to see what you're doing with it in 2025.
Yeah. But maybe by the end of the game, you're like,
oh,
I hate that. Yeah.
This bird
wizard, this tactician. Yeah, I forgot. For some reason, I thought those one or more creatures.
No, they didn't really have that templating back then, right? Like they were just templating everything when you hit a player because that's what you do in 1v1.
Yeah.
And now we know a little bit better what makes a powerful commander card. And it turns out, Sheldon knows his stuff. He knew what a problem looked like in Commander. And
God bless him.
Derevi, Empyrial Tactician, one of the oldest commanders, I think, that stands the test of time in terms of terrifying.
Absolutely, yeah. Derevi, you made it. And you were on the honorable mentions.
Yeah, right?
Wow,
All right. So I want to wrap this up and just talk about, like, what makes you hate playing against a commander in 2025? Because a lot of what they're talking about is this very dated idea of like, oh, I hate when they play a commander and it goes off and the game is over immediately. Yeah. It's difficult to interact with, or it's a highly, highly interactive deck. And I don't think those two things exist as much. Like, we don't see as many decks that are just like, I'm designed to stop you, like an Arbiter or a Baral, or I'm designed to combo off with my commander. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it feels like we're also moving farther away from the glass cannon-y because it's not just your commander that's powerful now.
Right.
There are multiple, in every deck, I would say there are multiple contenders for cards that are more powerful than your commander.
Sure.
And back in the day, it might just be like, no, your commander's clearly the most powerful. You want to build your whole thing around that. And now it just very much seems like, if your commander's not there, your deck can definitely still function because each card has 15 lines of text on it. And it's just busted, or there's just so much synergy that your commander isn't as important as it used to be.
Yeah, I'm also less worried about like if a glass cannon deck goes off, because then it's just kind of done. You're like, oh, we died to Prossh. Surprise, surprise.
All right, cool.
Like, I think these days I'm much more worried about commanders who take really long turns.
Yeah, that's my number one pet peeve for sure.
I also really don't like playing against commanders that are just don't feel very creative. Like there's commanders.
You're the
like,
brewer of the office, so
yeah,
that
I
makes
mean,
sense.
but there's like Tulane and there's Prossh, not Prossh. There's Tulane and there's Corvolds and there's like 5-mana Jodas, and you look at these commanders and you're like, yeah, we could all build this. We could all build Corvold tomorrow, and we could all build Corvold, but we choose not to because Corvold sucks.
Yeah.
And like...
or you know what you're getting into is kind of... And it's okay if you get into it, by the way, but everyone that doesn't build Corvold does because they don't want to get into it.
Yeah, and you're like, I don't know... those are the kind of commanders that I hate playing against, where you're like, yeah, they're powerful, look at them. And then you play, and you're like, they sure were.
There it goes.
And it doesn't take a lot of like effort or ingenuity to actually make that happen. It's just all sort of on their face. I think those are the things that make me the most frustrated to play against.
I think one of my pet peeves is when someone gets enticed by a commander that has that kind of like, ooh, it can do all this. And then as they're playing it, they realize, oh, wait, no, this is actually not what I was hoping for. This ends up actually being more time consuming or more brain busting than I was actually trying to do. I just wanted this type of effect. It's like, well, fortunately in this day and age, you can get that somewhere else.
Yeah.
You don't have to necessarily just play this absurdly generically powerful thing that's going to result in very long turns and just a lot of, okay, I'm going to take a bathroom break now type commanders.
There's so much more dirtle today than there was in 2018.
Yeah.
And it's because of all of these like card draw based commanders that we're talking about. Like they didn't have Corvold and Tulane. Sure. So yeah, these big engine-y commanders came out after 2018, and it was less about like how busted the combos are with your commander and more about like, oh man, I can build this like ridiculous combo of things.
Yeah, I think the commanders I hate the most are the ones that are similar to Zur, which is just like they will just tutor 5 times, and it's hard for you to get around it because they can just always find the thing that they need.
Sure.
Those types of commanders are also ones that I don't enjoy playing against.
Super linear, very predictable.
Yeah, part of Commander, the joy of it was putting 100 cards together and being like, I don't know which one's going to come up this time around, but like, ooh, this one's a fun one type of dealio.
Yeah, I think a big difference about this is like power level doesn't really make me hate playing against a commander. It feels like a lot of these are power level based or like combo based. It's more like I'm fine playing against a powerful commander if I've brought a powerful commander. And I think that that scale is so much like we understand power level so much better than we did in 2018. It's harder, like it's easier to understand the power differentials between decks than it ever has been because we have more tools. There's been more conversation. There's more podcasts.
There's a bracket system. Yeah. And EDH has grown quite a bit as well. So.
Absolutely. So there's also a place for people to go who want to build these degenerate combo decks and they have an actual outlet to
I think it's just,
do this.
It doesn't matter what you're playing. I just want to make sure that it's right for the pod and that everyone's going to have fun, I guess, including myself.
Yeah. So most hated commanders in 2018. Some of them still a bummer. Most of them, do your thing.
Do your thing, yeah. If you're going to try and win like that, go for it.
Just know I'm going to stop you.
We got better tools than we ever did.
To the listeners, what hated commander of old has lost some of its ire in 2025? Did we not mention any that you're like, this one used to be the boogeyman?
The boogeyman.
And
what are the big boogeymen today? And that's
the other thing.
There's so many commanders now that's kind of, maybe there's like styles that people don't like or.
Definitely. I think every playgroup has like a couple decks where they're like, I hate that deck. But it doesn't seem like there's, like you can point to a couple that are like, those are the problems.
I don't like Simic. There you go.
I don't like Joda the Unifier specifically.
Joda is nuts.
If you want to pick up Joda the Unifier or your Simic commander, go to cardkingdom.com/command. They have a huge selection of singles and sealed product. You can pick up any of those commanders or a better commander, more interesting commander.
All commanders are interesting, Rachel.
No, that's not true. No, that's true. There's a lot of cool different ways that you can build a commander, and you can get all of the cards you're looking for in one spot if you shop with Card Kingdom and use our affiliate code. You're supporting us. You're letting them know that we're the reason you're there, which helps us a lot. Plus, you're benefiting yourself because they're professional. They're going to package your cards well. They're going to know exactly what cards you're looking for and the right foiling and the right printing. They're going to make sure that it gets shipped safely to you. So the cards that you order on the website are the ones that show up on your doorstep. There's nothing more frustrating than something happening in the mail.
True.
So go to cardkingdom.com/command, support our show, and work with some pros.
Yeah. And then when you get those cards, sleeve them up, keep them protected at ultrapro.com/command. Maybe you need to get a play mat. Ultra Pro actually has a bunch of like old stuff that they have from old sets, old binders and stuff. So maybe you're looking for a throwback. Maybe you're looking from something from Throne of Eldraine that they might still have in stock at ultrapro.com/command. And they also have a bunch of really cool sales occasionally for that sort of older stuff, as well as the new stuff that comes out with every set. Apex sleeves now with every single set, new designs. The Mana 8 line, that's got that really cool white surface that we love to sign at conventions. So go to ultrapro.com/command, and that way you can also support the show and keep your collection nice and safe. Ding.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this walk down memory lane. Before we go, we're going to say thank you to our amazing team here at the Command Zone who made this episode and all of our episodes possible.
Yeah.
Thank you to Rachel Kendra, Karina Cruz, Sebastian Salazar, Gaurav Galati, Jamie Block, Jordan Pridgeon, Jake Boss, Eric Lem, Josh Murphy, Manson Lung, Christopher Matista, Evan Limburger, Sam Waldo, and of course,
Josh Lee Kwai. How's it? All right, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.